And you also say that a lot depends on the director. It's the director who sort of molds you into the characters that you play. For instance, if it's Sanjay Leela Bhansali, right? Would you not be able to do Gangubai in the way you did if it wasn't for Bhansali?
100%.
Okay.
I took his character, I took so much of his personality and I put that into Gangubai's character. The way he speaks and the way he thinks and he has a certain attitude and a certain tashan with which he looks at you and he delivers a certain moment because it's in his head. So I would pick that up from him. Chalna bhai, chalna, aage badhte hai na. So I would take those little things and put that into the character. I would have definitely not been able to do it if it wasn't for him. It's totally different. Like a director, it's a director's medium, it's the written word and then the actor. The actor has to collect all those things and then put that in front of the camera.
Would it be fair to say that over your career of a decade plus, you actually pick the director more than even the subject or the script? It can't be a coincidence that you've practically worked with all the top directors there are in Bombay. Is there anyone left? I mean, started with Karan Johar, Bhansali we've spoken about, Abhishek Chaubey, another fantastic director, Zoya Akhtar, can't get better than that. You pick the director because you just feel safe in their company. Would that be correct to say?
Let's say first they pick me. They pick me, then I pick them. Yeah, of course. Because it is a director's medium, yeah. You will not be able to deliver anything without the director holding you.
Would it be a leap of faith for you then, because your first film as a producer and it's with the first time director?
Yes, but like exactly. So sometimes it's the combination of the written word and the director. So she brought this script to me, she co-wrote it with Parvez, but she wrote it. And she wanted to direct it. So when the director is also the writer, in fact, you feel a little bit more confident because she's lived with the world, she's lived with the character, she's created it from scratch. It's a totally original story. So then I feel like, okay, that leap of faith is worth taking because I know that she'll be able to deliver basis the fact that she's created it. And also through conversation and instinct of just like, okay, she's got this world. And she's used to give references of films that I loved. Like Jojo Rabbit, we used to talk a lot about that. This is not dark comedy, but there's a dark world, but there's a certain comic loveliness to the characters and the tone that you're taking. So it's such a fine line, and I may be sounding a little artistic right now, but I'm saying it's...
What's wrong with sounding artistic? I mean,
I'm just saying that
legit thing to sound.
It's not that.
You are an artist.
It's not that clinical. Sometimes it's just instinct and conversation that leads you to a safe place. So yeah, it was a risk to take, but it's a very happy risk that I took.
Right. I think there's a line in the movie which says you can't mix ice cream with chicken, which is in reference to horror comedy that the writer's writing. It almost seems like a reference to the film itself.
Yeah, it's kind of meta.
Right, it's meta as it were. So, I mean, going back to directors and seeking out directors, Alia, I mean, it's a rather well-known fact that you actually seeked out Bhansali, for instance, right?
Absolutely.
You auditioned for Black.
Yeah.
He was going to do a film with you called Balika Vadhu?
Yeah.
How old were you then?
Well, when he decided to make it, I think I was about 9.
Wow.
And then he said, maybe I'll wait a couple of years and make it when you're like a little older. But then I think he dropped the idea altogether, which till today he says I shouldn't have dropped the idea because it went on to become such a popular show.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have listened to everybody. I should have made it and all of that. But yeah, I really seeked him out. Because I remember even then, like, it was such a big deal for me. Like, I was so young, I was a baby, but I was like, oh, I want to work with this filmmaker. And then, of course, when the idea of filmmaking became more clear to me, then it was even more of a sort of like a chase. And then you're also told these tales that...
Oh, what? At 9, you're like calling him up? Like, listen, do you have a role for me?
I didn't even know. My mother just took me for the audition of Black and she didn't tell me. So my mom was very, very particular. Like, I used to get a lot of offers as a child actor.
Okay.
Which she didn't
After you did Sangharsh?
After I did Sangharsh, as a thing, I got a lot of these offers. My mom said no, like we did it as a one-off thing, but she didn't want me to be a child actor. She said, you live, you study, you have a life, and we will get into acting later. I was always very clear I wanted to be an actor. I was like, we'll see. This was one I think she wanted me only to do because of the audition. Because she said, like, let's start auditioning, and of course it's Sanjay Leela Bhansali. So if you work with him, whatever it is, you have that experience.
Yeah, you won't just be a child actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, you will be represented in a totally different way. So I didn't even know I was going for this audition of Black. She just took me for, she said, we are going for an audition. And I went, and then when we were literally entering the gate, I remember it's the building that he's still staying in, Magnum Opus. How ironical that his building is also called Magnum Opus. So we entered the building, and she was speaking to the watchman, and she said, Sanjay Leela Bhansali ke ghar pe jana. And I was like my jaw literally dropped, because I didn't know, and she purposely didn't tell me because she knew I would get very nervous.
Oh, you were a fangirl on basis of what? What did you see?
On his movies, how?
Oh, which ones? Like, was there some movie that you were constantly watching? Like
I think
Hum Dil Dil Ko Sanam?
Dil.
Okay, right.
Khamoshi I must have seen much later on. It's a very, nuanced film, but I was in love with Hum Dil. I mean, I don't know at that time which films I had seen, but I had seen enough to
Right, you knew him.
Be a fan.
Right, which is unusual for a child.
Yeah.
To know that directors' names and for the jaws to drop.
Yeah. So I jaw dropped, went in, met him, instant connect. Instant connect, like just I don't know how, whatever it was instant. And so he said no. He auditioned me for Black. I don't know what audition I did, but he said no, this girl's going to be a heroine. We have to make different film with her. So then he came up with this Balika Vadu concept. We did costume rehearsals.
Oh well, he was in.
Or maybe it was already there. I don't
Sure.
know, but isko lete hai, wo wala idea aa gaya. So we did costume rehearsals. We did I danced on Dola Re Dola and all of that. Like all of this has happened. And imagine Ranbir was in the office throughout this. We've done a photo shoot where my head was on his shoulder. Everything has happened. Ghoom fir ke, I don't know what happened. I went back to school. Sir decided not to make the film. But then that mere dil mein, like that keeda got stuck. That one day I have to work with him. So when I joined the movies, the understanding was Sanjay Leela Bhansali works with the actors at their prime. When they're at their prime, he works with them. Like that was that.
That's the aura, na?
That aura.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll reach my prime one day, and one day I will get to work with him. So when it happened, it was like a dream come true. And actually, it started like break a leg na situation, because we started to do a film called Inshallah, which never happened.
With Salman,
right. Which never happened, which got shelved. Which I was like, what the hell? Like my dream is just was just coming true, and it's now cancelled. And then he came to me with Gangubai, and then that's what I talk about when you speak about the factors of luck and destiny. Like, had it not been for the film getting shelved, maybe Gangubai would have never come my way. So how everything works for.
Also, did you walk out when you first heard the script? When he first told you what he's trying to make, and you just got up and you left, and you was just left wondering what happened?
None of that happened.
He just made that up?
No, he didn't make it up. Sir exaggerates a little bit. So he said she ran out of the office. He was not wrong.
Okay.
I did get a little thrown off with the subject because we were supposed to do another film. So I was like, so it's a very different subject. It's totally different to what I had imagined. But I think it's only because I was coming off a totally different film, which was like a romantic film, and then suddenly this came to me. So I just needed to digest it for a second, and more than anything, it was like it was a no-brainer.
You want to sleep on it? You want to think about it?
Yeah, but I went back home, I reached home and I messaged him, being like, I'm going to come and see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.